Hey, there are emergencies happening in the world right now. Some of them are in the news, some of them are not in the news. One of the ones that are in the news is the situation in India at the moment. Over 400,000 new cases of COVID a day, over 4,000 people dying a day, and that's not just 4,000 statistics, that's 4,000 real human people with hopes and feelings and dreams and personalities and people who love them. And 4,000 are dying every day, and it's kind of unimaginable as a tragedy. And they seem to be running out of oxygen and ventilators and things that potentially could be provided fairly easily. But at the same time, there's emergencies happening kind of all over the world at all times that maybe we don't hear about, maybe are not in the news. And these are silent emergencies, things that we don't really hear about. And these are things like, the tens of thousands of people that die every day from preventable causes. Something like 14,000 children die in the world every day under the age of 5. And most of those are from preventable causes like diarrhea or malnutrition or vaccine preventable diseases. And so there's disasters happening, at all times. These silent emergencies happening all the time, and they kind of deserve our attention all the time. And, not so much attention that we're crushed by the depressing force of it all into being completely dysfunctional, but it's important to remember these issues as well. And it's not just, deaths and things as well. It's things like the fact that 2/3 of the world live on less than $10 rather, a day. Or the fact that, hundreds of millions of people around the world do live on less than $2 a day, but also live, without electricity, clean water, opportunities for education. It sucks. It sucks. And I think we should take only what we need and give what we can. And that's what I'm trying to do this year. My name is Henry. I'm a doctor in Australia. This year I'm trying to give 50% of everything I earn to charity. And this is the pyramid scheme, my donation strategy. And the strategy is I give money to great causes, and I give even more money to really, really great causes. And I'm deciding which causes are good and which are great and which are maybe worth skipping over based on the advice of global development experts out there in the world, on the advice of grassroots knowledge, based on evidence of global development projects out in the world, trials of what actually works, and then also on crowdsourced knowledge, information from you guys out there, comments telling me what to do, what not to do. I'm coming at you live from the lands of the Yorta people, by the way. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So this fortnight, I've given to 2 organisations. One is GiveIndia, and this is about trying to help with the emergency as it's evolving and in the news in India at the moment. But the other one is focused on more one of those silent emergencies that maybe we're not hearing about as much, and not only focused on trying to stop it right now, but trying to prevent it from happening in the future as well. So let's talk about GiveIndia. It's quite hard to figure out how to give in a crisis because everything's kind of evolving so quickly. You don't really know who's doing what's actually working, and who the bad actors are as well. Who's trying to take advantage of the situation for their own benefit. Got to be a bit cautious of that kind of thing. And so GiveIndia is this organisation based in India. They seem to do a lot of good work, but at the moment they are focused mainly on COVID stuff. They have a few different funds you can give to, and one of them is providing oxygen and ventilation and oxygen concentrators to patients who are struggling with COVID, because it sounds like India's kind of running out of oxygen, which is actually quite a cheap thing to provide. And potentially there's an enormous opportunity to help people for relatively small amounts of money with this kind of thing. I've chosen to give to the help set up COVID care centres for patients fighting coronavirus, which, is very much a similar kind of thing. I've seen GiveIndia mentioned in a few different places. A few people have recommended it to me, and I've also seen it in a few different articles. Even it was mentioned in the Life You Can Save, a recent blog post suggesting that's maybe one of the things you could give to, though they didn't openly endorse it because everything's happening so quickly. It's a little bit hard to know exactly what to do. This is a report from their stuff last year. They did a lot of work last year in COVID as well. They did some pretty cool stuff, gave out cash relief to people who lost their incomes. They gave out meals to people. They gave out PPE, kind of found and delivered masks and gowns and things to hospitals, but they also provided funding for other non-government organisations doing great work, like Doctors for You is one. And so it seems like they did some really cool work. It's a little bit unclear exactly what these funds are providing money for. They don't provide a heap of information about that. I tried to dive into the finances of GiveIndia, but I got a bit stuck. I'm not really an accountant, so I don't really know what's going on. I tried to figure out how they actually spend their money, and it was a bit opaque to me. Here's a snapshot of one of their documents. It just, under expenditures, it just has employees and then other. I don't know. They've been audited by Deloitte, which I guess is a bit reassuring. And the other disadvantage of giving to GiveIndia is that it is based in India, so it's not tax deductible if you care about that. And it's also, all the numbers are in rupees, which are a little bit hard for me to read, but more importantly means that there are exchange rates and international transaction fees and things included. So this $1,067.84, which is a clean number in rupees, probably corresponds to a little bit less than that because of the transaction fees and things like that. Anyway, who cares? New Incentives is the other organisation I've given to. I gave $1,000 to them this fortnight, and the reason is that this is an organisation recommended by GiveWell, this charity evaluator in the US, which is all about effective giving, effective altruism, trying to find the most cost-effective ways to help the world. And New Incentives is one of their organisations they recommend, and what they do is it's a very simple idea. They just provide cash incentives. They only work in Nigeria at the moment, but I think they plan to expand. They give cash incentives to parents so that they vaccinate their kids. It's a very simple idea. They have trials that show that it works. And it's preventing people from getting sick in the first place. Because often preventing people from getting sick, preventative medicine, is better than curing people once they are sick. And preventing disasters from happening in the first place is better than trying to mitigate them once they do. So I suppose GiveIndia, I think it's really important to try and help with disasters as they're happening in the news. And I also think it's really important to never forget about those silent emergencies that are happening all around the world at all times. And also to think about not only how you can help with them now, but how you can prevent them from happening in the future, which can sometimes be an even more effective thing to do, which is what New Incentives is all about. So yeah, that's what I've done this particular fortnight. Anyone with any suggestions, I would highly encourage you to send me a message. Much love to you all. Peace. Until next time, ciao.